deck. Thank you for joining us. If you have clients, relationship professionals, and you would like them to join this session, or you have CEOs, HR leaders that if you have CEOs and HR leaders that are complaining about performance of their client relationship professionals, please give them a beep to join the session. Simply go on Cross-Site Solutions here on Instagram and join the live session once you're on our profile. Hello, good evening. Hello, Tijani. Good evening. So, yes, I can see your message. We have on the call with us, or on the live with us, Ifi Emeka Onu. Ifi is a business communication expert and business communication consultant and customer service expert, which makes her the best person for this live session. Yeah, I can see you feel free to do that. So we've heard quite a lot of things that if we are I've personally sat in Ife's training, and so I'm going to abide by one of her rules. When she said courtesy demands that you ask a person what they would prefer that you refer to them as. Yes. So please, how would you prefer I refer to you throughout the course of this session? Should it be Madam Ify, Mrs. Ify, Mrs. Emeka Onu? What would you prefer I refer to you as?
Okay, so I love the title Mrs. Emeka Onu. Do you understand?
Oh,
But
okay.
but like you always know, I prefer people call me by my first name. My name is Ifi Emeka Onu, but I really do prefer professionally that people refer to me by my first name. And I always say that that customer service etiquette rule 101. You call people by how they want to be addressed. So
Yes.
please promise, we call ourselves by first names. And then for every other person who joins this live session, please feel free to address me as Ify. And if you get to recognize me any other place apart from Instagram, please do feel free to refer to me as Ify.
Okay. Okay. I think that is perfect. I would not make the mistake, like some of your participants, like, oh my, you said, call me Ify. Ify, thank you for joining
Exactly.
us for this
Thank
session. I mean, we are
you.
really glad to have you here. We have quite a number of conversations we'd like to have with you. We have questions we'd like to ask. I'm sure that those that are joining the live session would also want to ask some questions. And like I said before, if you are here on the session and you would like someone, a client relationship professional, a CEO that is complaining about losing clients, an HR professional that is worried about, her client relationship, the client relationship employees performance, please feel free to reach out to them. Just share a link. I'm sure you can send a link from the live session, or you can just invite them to come on Cross-Site Solutions here on Instagram and join our live session. And during the course of this session, if you're here, and for those that are going to join, please feel free to ask every question. Like we said during the previous live session we had last month, you do not have to completely agree with the speaker. So if there's something you do not agree to or something you need clarification on, just feel free to ask further questions, or to relate your your own thoughts, however politely. Thank you again for joining. Okay, so let's quickly get into it because we have just a little time to get through this. So let's get to know you. let's get to know you, Ify. Can you run us through your career, your professional history? How did Ify become this, consultant Ify? Where did she start from to get to this consultant level? Please run us through
Okay.
that. Okay.
I'm sure that quite a number of people that may be on this live session may know me personally, like they know my personal life, but majority of them may not know my professional life. And I always get to say that I started my career as I like to use the word teacher, like someone, just a teacher. I love to teach and all of these things. So I started my career as one, and then at some point I went into the electronic media, where I worked there for a while. One of the TV stations, I was there for a while, and then later on, I got employment into Poise Nigeria, and I would say that Poise Nigeria was one company that actually shaped me into who I am today. I cannot tell my story, I cannot write a book without actually mentioning Poise Nigeria. And there, when I was there, I got into um, several programs. I was into developing several programs for oil and gas, for the government, for the educational sector, for the financial industry. Like, I was allowed to swim through the waters, and then I was able to identify my niche. This is what I want to do: business communication and customer service. And for customer service was because anytime I had to do business with a client, anytime I even had to go to the market, anytime I had to interface with a client facing professional, there were some things that I could identify what made this service different from the other service I had been given. And I found out that there are ways in which you can actually deliver exceptional customer service. It's not just through great service alone. And as time goes on, I'm going to be using a very typical example that we have seen recently to let all of us know that it's not only by, giving great service that you can actually retain your customers. There are ways to these things.
Okay, well, shout out to Poise, first of all, for giving me the platform. And yes, I mean, your last sentence is what we are here for. We are all out to hear that. So let's quickly jump into what you said in your last sentence. Great service cannot retain clients alone. So, what other factors are
Okay,
responsible for this?
I like to use illustrations and examples, fits material, and the ones that also fit my audience. I'm sure you must have come across, I don't know whether you must have come across the movie, but I got to hear people mentioning Achalugo, Achalugo. So I realized that it was a particular movie on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the movie now, but I went to see that movie. I think it was something about love or something. I can't remember the name of the movie, but I know that I went to see that movie. The movie was very interesting. And I realized that that word, achalugo, stood out. In fact, I had to ask my husband, yes, I'm Igbo, but I had to ask my husband, what does achalugo mean? I really wanted to know what that word meant. Now, I realized that quite a number of services, even professional services, organizations were also keen into that Achalugo word. I don't want to mention names now. And then I observed that quite a number of organizations who are doing very well when it comes to delivering exceptional customer service also wanted the faces in that movie to also be the face of the organization. Remember, I had earlier mentioned that these organizations are doing very well when it comes to delivering exceptional customer service. However, because they want more customers or they want to retain more their customers, they decided to key into their Chalugo movie or at least use the faces that were also used at that movie to also, they wanted to appeal to their audience. Am I making sense to you, Promise? Promise, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. I have to be on mute so I don't disturb you while you're speaking.
Okay, then that's fine then. So I just wanted to be sure that we're both of us are on the same page.
Yes, we are. Totally.
Good. And then recently, over the weekend, we had a very popular African wedding titled JP 2025. You would also observe that quite a number of online vendors that are also doing well. I mean, I have had cross to interact with some online vendors who are also doing very well, but they decided to also use that hashtag to gain more visibility, to gain more customers, and also to retain their customers. Promise, great service alone is not enough to retain your customers in this 21st century. There are other things that we all must learn to do so that our customers will see us as a preferred vendor or the preferred candidate any day, anytime. That makes sense to you, right? So you get to
Yes.
see that it's not just great service alone. It's not all
that
about great service alone.
that 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 was very intense. As a client-facing person myself, as a client-facing professional myself, you know, it's like you are being. When I started off my career, we're being. I think the word is. Should I use the word baptized into this whole? Just have great service.
Mm, mm,
You're laughing whether your client is funny or not. We see those
mm,
we see those funny videos. We have these funny videos on Instagram where you have clients videos, and then they're like, when your client is when your client says something funny, or when your client does not say something funny, but you have to seal that
You
deal.
don't have a choice but to laugh, right?
Yeah, and we believe, and so we believe so many things to be, about. Oh, once I can make you laugh. Sorry, I think I lost my network for a bit. Once I can make
Okay,
you
okay.
laugh, once I make my client happy, or no, not happy. I think satisfied. We've come to establish the fact that clients can never be happy, or not like they can never be happy. You are not responsible for your client's
For
happiness,
the
but yes,
exactly,
but you can be responsible for your client's satisfaction. Yeah.
absolutely.
So, once you do all these things, then you can definitely retain your clients. So I'm finding it very deep. While you were speaking about the Achalogo and the JP thing, and I had seen, I think, was it Zenith? Which bank was that?
Mhm.
Yeah, that
You're
featured
very correct.
Uzo and was like, Machalugo, open a bank account
You're
and all that.
you see, yes. Yes, so it's not all about great service alone. You really have to understand that humans work with emotions, and at this point,
Yeah.
Achalugo is what it is for us.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, now, for companies, for organizations that only rely on great service to retain clients, they've been doing it for years. It's been working for
Mhm.
them. What do they start to lose What do they start to lose without realizing it? I don't know if you understand the context of my question. Okay?
I do. Very well.
Okay.
I
All
do.
right. I'll just leave the floor to you then.
Okay. Now, for everyone who has joined, who has been in one of the programs I run when it comes to customer service, there's one thing I always want them to go home with or to take with them. When I ask people who is the customer, I realize that a lot of people give me textbook definitions. They tell me, oh, the customer is the person who comes because it needs my services. The customer is this. You know, they're speaking a way that they are the ones doing the customer a favor. And one thing I always make sure to let them know is the fact that it's the other way around. The customer is the one doing you a favor. Because come to think of it, in Nigeria, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm yet to see an organization, a company, a professional that probably that organization is the only one who is offering that particular service. Maybe you're the only one offering that particular service. Now, it may be possible that at this current time, you're the only person offering that particular service. I can assure you that someone somewhere is actually doing his or her homework to come out better and stronger than you are. So the sooner that we realize, if you're asked, who is the customer? The definition of who the customer is the person who pays my salaries at the end of the month. The customer is a person who pays my bills. The customer is the reason I wake up and I say I have a job. The customer is the reason I can say, oh, I'm going to the Bahamas for vacation in another 1 month. The customer is the reason I have a roof over my head. The customer is the reason why I can drive a car of my choice. That is who the customer is. I'm having some noise interference. Is it from my end or your end?
Um. Okay. I don't think it's from my end, but I may have to turn off my microphone.
Okay. Okay, so I think it's better now. So the sooner we realize that the customer is not doing us a favor, rather, that we are not doing the customer a favor, rather we are the customer is the one doing us a favor. So when you're asked who is the customer, the correct, most accurate definition is the customer is a person who pays my salary at the end of the month, or the customer is a person who pays my bill. And we have to understand that generations are evolving. You know, we have various generations. Right now, we have the Gen Zs. And whether you like it or not, they will soon take over. We're not even talking about the Generation Alpha. My own generation may be satisfied with, very great service and all that. But when it comes to the current generation, that's the Gen Zs, they are looking out more than great service. They want something else. They want something that can actually simulate, their thinking faculty, something that can simulate their logic. You get to see that adverts these days are different from the kind of adverts that we used to have back in those days. And so, if companies who rely only on great service, who do not take opportunity of the trends that are happening, I'm afraid, whether you like it or not, they may go out of service sooner than later. If it's working for them now, before you get to know it, it may no longer work for them. I mean, we just have two practical examples that we have just used.
Okay. This is a personal question because um, I'm quite I'm quite interested in something you said. So let's say company A organization A, let me use company, has something that I like, I frequently purchase goods from them. I like their service. I like their, the way their quality. I like the quality of their products. Do you mean that there is every tendency for me, if I am a Gen Z, to get bored with what company A is offering if they do not follow trends, the same, the kind of trends that company B follows? Is that
Okay,
what you
I
mean?
understand. Yes, I understand your question. Now, let me use cross-site solutions as an example. I have worked with cross-site solutions. I mean, it's been over 4 years that we've had this business relationship, and I see that when it comes to leadership programs, when it comes to communication programs, I see that you actually have great service. When it comes to delivering exceptional service for your clients, for your delegates, I can actually beat my chest that yes, cross-site solutions is one out of 100, out of 10 organizations that are actually doing the right thing when it comes to learning and development, right? But you can see what we're having right now. We're having an Instagram live session. An Instagram live session some years back, I mean, pre-COVID, there was nothing like Instagram live session. You just wait for customers to just come across cross-site solutions and all of those kind of things. Whether you like it or not, you must understand how this works. That's one example. Another example is, before now, I want to check the meaning of the word. I just go on the internet. It was Google. I just go on the internet, I check the meaning of the word and all that. But then after some time, we have the Google Classroom, we have the Google Ads, we have so many other things that Google is also doing. That's to show you that you must understand that humans evolve. We get tired of just the same thing. Yes, we want to learn, but maybe in a fun way. When I was in school, it was more or less like the teacher teaches on the board and then that's all. But right now, you get to see that I do not need to go to the four walls of the school. There's so many schools in Nigeria today who is offering, okay, if you want a child to come to the four walls of the school, you can actually have something like this and teach that child. Look at what happened during COVID. We already have a lot of schools that couldn't key in at that time. What happened to them? They lost quite a number of their pupils, and their pupils for schools as a teaching. Because when I'm teaching customer service, like in a session like this, I like to look at various industry, education, just various industries so that we understand exactly what is happening. Have I answered your question, Promise?
Yes, yes. Yes, you have. You've answered my question. Okay, so this is going to get more deep a little bit, but I'm very sure you would know how to answer it without um, implicating anyone. I'm very sure. So within,
If I say that I'm about to get anyone, I'll just tell you, what, Promise, I'll
yeah.
pass.
So you have been to you've I don't know, I don't think you mentioned it while you were introducing yourself. I think you were trying to be, no, the word is humble. Yeah, you were trying to be humble while while introducing yourself, and you didn't want to tell us, how many clients facing professionals that you've had to train. The number, I'm sure it's up to 7,000 and even up to 1 million.
Not up to a million, a
Okay,
million.
but it's a lot. So, can you tell us about a time? We are diving into case studies now. So, a practical case study of, have you come across an organization that did everything right on the service, great service. It's more than good service, great service, but still ended up losing a major client. I'm very sure your sessions are interactive, so they must have shared the stories with you. At the end of the day, after the conversations, after they dissected and took you through their journey with that client, what was missing? What did you find out was missing? I mean, just one case study.
Okay, I'll use a recent case study where a client-facing person shared her story in class last Wednesday, and I could relate with her story. If you've been in my class, I always say that perception to the onlooker is always reality until proven otherwise. I'll take that again. Perception to the onlooker is always reality until proven otherwise. What am I trying to say? It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you think you are. What matters is the perception of the greater authority. The person who is doing the perception, that person's perception is what matters a lot. So this lady felt that she had given the client or the customer, as we're going to call the customer Mrs. A. She felt that she had given Mrs. A very great service. She went on to say all the magic words, the courteous words, the please, the may, the thank you, and all that. And I told her, I said, you know what? You're being paid to say may. You're being paid to say please. You're being paid to say thank you. You're being paid to give the customer great service. That's why you're being paid. However, you are not being paid to make the customer satisfied. You are not being paid to make sure the customer comes back, but that is exactly what you're asked to do. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Promise.
Yes, totally.
Because when I say please, when I say thank you, that's what I'm being paid for. I'm being you're being you're not being paid for things that you're asked to, things that you're supposed to do. And so when she shared her story, and then she wanted to say that at the end of the day, the customer still wasn't, she felt that she had given great service to the customer. She felt that the customer wasn't pleased with her service. Now, okay, maybe I'm going to say that this was, in a financial industry. And at the end of the day, Mrs. A said, oh, I wouldn't want, we're going to call the person Ify. I wouldn't want Ify to be my relationship manager. I would prefer this person. Oh my goodness. Just a moment.
No problem. Okay, no problem.
PSN has done what they are meant, what they know how to do
Yeah,
best.
it's a normal
So,
occurrence.
just a moment, please. Yes.
No problem at
All
all.
right. So, we're going to have power coming very soon. Just a
Okay.
moment, please.
Oh, so I can see on the chat box, Olatunde Humans Evolve. Thank you for your comments. Of course, humans evolve, and you need to evolve as clients facing professionals so that you can please them with the involvement. Um, are you settled now, Ife?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Sincere apologies, please.
No problem at all.
Okay, I'm just trying to remember my thoughts now. All right. Aha. And so she said, oh, I don't want Evie to attend to me again. I would rather prefer Promise be my relationship manager. And I realized that it was just all about her looks, her parents. It was just all about her parents. Because from my conversation with her, She happens to be somebody who actually knows her onions very well. She's someone who has learned how to dot her I's and cross her T's. So my conversation with her, she's someone who knows her onions very well. She's very logical. I would, if I want to use, if you ask me to use one word to describe her, I would use the word brilliant, very brilliant professional. But there was something wrong with her parents. So you get to see that because humans actually work with emotions. We work with emotions. I see something, you can't put your fingers around it and you're like, oh, I like this person's aura. I'm sure you must have heard people say that before. Oh, I like this person's aura. I like her demeanor and all of those things. It was just her parents. And then I told her that, you know what? Let me have a one-on-one session with you after this program. And after the program, I had a one-on-one session with her. I wish I could actually share the feedback she gave to me today. She sent to me a very long message via WhatsApp. And she said, Ify, the one-on-one session you had with me was spectacular. That, when she got back to work today, everybody was asking her, oh, there's something different about it. There's something different about it. It was just her parents. And she noticed that quite a number of, customers wanted her to interface with them rather her other colleagues. Unlike before, today, a number of people, just when they see her parents, they just assume that she doesn't, she's not someone that can actually solve their problems. So they rather prefer to go to someone else who looks better than her parents professionally. Like I always say, you have to sell yourself even before you open your mouth to speak.
I can
So
totally
that's
relate to
what I
that.
did.
Yes, thank you. I had some thoughts while you were speaking. It's something that's happened to me personally. I'm very sure it has happened to a lot of people. If you've ever been like, if you've ever been a young professional, whether young or old, looking for a job in Nigeria, you have encountered these people. Definitely.
Mm.
I'm not, they come with different names, and it's just, we have this, where you go sit on, they put a place for you to sit, and you just sit and, you start hearing some motivational speeches, giving you
Mm.
motivational speech, and they ask you to pay some amount of money that in the next 2 years you can be a billionaire in Dubai. And then you now look at the person that is telling you about Dubai. You know
This is so hilarious.
we a lot of us have experienced this thing. I had a friend that shared this, and we burst out a laughter, and she said she looked at the shoes of the person that was talking about it to buy. It was like she's very sure that these shoes have toured all the countries in Nigeria, like not inside a bus.
This
Like these shoes have
is so
walked through.
wow, so hilarious.
And I had to tell her, you never can say, maybe he actually had to trek to Dubai. So he has checked, and he has said that if you start trekking from
Mm.
today, you can be like him. In the next 2 years, you'll be. So I totally get the whole appearance thing about, I mean, why are you telling me this? You do not look like it.
Mm.
So why should I buy from you? As someone that invests a lot into skincare, there's one thing that always stands out for me. If I go into a supermarket to get skincare, I know what I want to get. But if I would like to change something in my skincare routine, change a product, and someone walks up to me to say, "Hi, I think you should try this thing, this particular one." The first thing I'm looking at is your skin. Once
Mm.
you try to recommend a particular skincare to me, I'm looking at your skin. And if your skin does not look like what I want my skin to be, I'm not I'm not going to consider that product.
Mm.
While discussing a business plan with someone, I made mention of that, where I said that you know if anyone had a supermarket and where they sold skincare, I think everyone in that section should have great skin. I don't think anyone in
Absolutely.
that section
Agree with
should
you.
be employed that does not have great skin. And there's one supermarket that does this that it stands out for me a lot. Westgate at Olowora,
Yes,
Vega
yes,
area.
yes, yes.
Oh my God, those ladies look stunning. They all have great skin. Everyone that sits on that in that skincare section, they have great skin. So I totally understand what you mean by appearance, and thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure that everyone that has watched this
That
or would
yes, that
watch this
yes.
later must would understand this.
That's just an example. Just an example. Or take for instance, you have a school. A
Yeah,
school is an educational institution. When I go into a school, there's a level of professionalism I expect to see from
yeah,
right from the security man to the head of the school. I always like to use one of my son's school as an example. I have never been to that school before, but right from the security man, it stood out for me. The way the security man spoke to me, his attitude, his professionalism, everything stood out for me. And it has always been the same thing. The same thing when you also walk into a financial organization, there's a level of professionalism that you expect. When you walk into a learning and development organization or a consulting firm, there's a level of professionalism that you expect. I don't expect to work into cross-site solution. Yes, you're not into appearance, but I don't expect to walk into the organization and I get to see women walking around with flips, women walking around barefooted, men walking to see if they're going to their farm and all that. No, there's a lot. So even if you have great service, if you can highly recommended. You came really highly recommended, and people are saying, "Oh, cross-site solutions, they are the best." When it comes to your L&D challenges, just meet with them. When it comes to your organizational needs, just meet with them. Anything when it comes to organizational needs, anything as regards recruitment of employee services and all of just this cross-site solution. You came highly recommended. And I decided to pay cross-site solutions a visit. Excuse me, I expect a level of professionalism right from the security man, right from the gate. The security man is not going to be the one in class with me, but I expect a level of professionalism from him. That is what we're talking about. Great service is not enough for you to retain your clients. There's more than that. I mean, the other time, Adebayo spoke about emotional intelligence. You have to understand that as a client-facing person, you have emotions, and your clients also have emotions. But you must understand how to be sure that, maybe your client's already having a bad day. You don't add to what the client is also going through.
this is an unpaid class. Yeah, Ife, I think you're doing. I think you're at this point. I would say you're doing too much. Nobody should hear this much because I mean we have this training coming up, the client management strategies. It's coming up in 2 days, and then
Okay.
we have that's like the virtual session, and then we have the fiscal session still coming up at a tentative date. A date that we are arranging for. Fiscal participants they have small shakara. So I think we are still arranging for our fiscal participants that want to walk into the class and ask questions. And we have these, and I think at this point, this session should be paid for. I think this
Hmm.
session should be paid for.
We're giving back to the society.
Okay. Okay. We should call this. So if we are promised IP 2025. As, okay. So I'm going to write on the last statement you made. Should I say the last story you shared about the service you experienced from the gate man, the prophet. So I know that, I mean, you are a client relationship expert, you're a consultant, but you have also been a client in so many scenarios, in so many cases. You've been someone's client. What would you say is the biggest client turnoff you have experienced this year? You know, something that in the person rendering the service did, and you're like, who does this? Like, I mean, by if standards, it's supposed to be high. Client relationship should be high, but I mean, what is that the biggest turnoff you've had this year?
A while ago, I had to school someone also in a very popular restaurant in Lagos just a while ago before I came on the Instagram live. And I'm sure that you must have also experienced it. Like you want to make payment for something and they bring out the point of sales machine and you give them tell you when you give them your card and they tell you current savings. You just say that when you give them your card, when they slot the card into the point of sales machine and they ask you current savings. And I told the lady, you don't have to use ma for me. In fact, I'm not somebody, because I'm not your mom, you don't have to use that. You don't have to use ma. You either use ma'am or madam. However, even if you do not want to use either of them, if you don't want to use ma'am, if you don't want to use madam, you should say current or savings, please. Current or savings, please. I mean, that is what is called courtesy language. When client-facing people do not use courtesy language, for me, it's a major turnoff. In fact, I always say that if we learn how to use these words in our respective homes, if it's a culture, if it's a tradition in our respective homes, it will come out just naturally. When you learn to say please, when you learn to say thank you, when you learn to say please, if you have children, when you learn to say, oh, please could you get me a glass of water? Please could you put this in the sink? Please could you do this? And when you do that, you also say thank you. When you're saying please, you're saying thank you because you actually mean it, um, not not service or current please, service or current please. No. I was in an airplane one time and I recall that I'm sure that maybe when we were having their sessions, they had told the air hostess that when you're serving the passengers in the plane, you should tell them, enjoy your meal. And then she went, with her face there was no smile, there was nothing. And she went, enjoy your meal, enjoy your meal, enjoy your meal, enjoy your meal. I just knew something was wrong about that service. And I was wondering, why? What's the meaning of this? And then I just told her, could you smile, please? I didn't know that my seatmate was also listening. He said, thank you so much, madam, for saying this. They're just giving us food as if they are giving to maybe prisoners. Enjoy your meal.
Or you
Enjoy
beg
your
for
meal. Enjoy your meal. Yes. What is wrong with saying enjoy your meal and with a smile on your face? So when courtesy language is not there, when courtesy language is not there, I'm sorry, it's a major turn off. When courtesy language is not there, because you could actually give very great service, like maybe your service is very fast and all of those kind of things, but there's no courtesy, there's no smile, there's nothing. I'm sorry, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I think this is. I'd like to add something to that, and this is the part where I drag Adebayo into it. He's going to watch this. I'm like, hey, why did you drag me? Something happened. Something happened
Yeah, I
recently.
remember when you always tell him, say thank you, right? Or please.
So it was even with a client. Something happened recently, and it's the fact that it's worse for you as a client relationship person. It's the fact that you notice every single detail. And so, some people around you might feel like you're easily
Very
irritated.
picky.
Yes, but I mean, you're like, this is common courtesy. This is just the right thing to do. This is just the right thing to do. I think some people think that saying please, even to maybe their colleagues or people below them, is sort of like taking power away from we talk about internal and
No,
external clients, or maybe even
no,
saying it to, if the person is not wearing a suit and all that, I shouldn't say, oh please, can you do this, can you do this. I recently had to correct someone. I'm like, oh, there's sometimes that you say kindly. So a friend sent me something, and he was trying to get something from. He was trying to tell a client to make payments, and he said,
okay.
"Kindly make the payment tomorrow." I'm like, if you sent me kindly,
Mm.
I would not use your service anymore. Please do not send me kindly. Tell me, please, could you make the payment tomorrow? Don't send
That's
kindly
right.
to me. So, in dragging at the buyer into this, something happened recently, and I I made a mistake, and I sent an email to someone, and I refuse. I forgot. Not like I refused. I forgot to apologize for something, and immediately Adviser came from his office. Hey, the email you sent, I just saw it. You didn't apologize. Immediately we have to send another. We have to send another,
Another
because where would we be
email.
without our clients? That courtesy language is very, very important. Oh, we
Very important.
sincerely apologize for
Yes.
this. Oh, I'm so sorry for
I regret
this.
the inconvenience. Yes.
For
You
every
recall what happened? You recall
inconvenience and all that.
what happened on X some weeks back, where someone went on X and said, I think he paid someone's house rent or so, and the person just responded and just wrote thanks. Can you recall? Did you see
Did
that?
he receive with thanks? Something like that, or
No,
I
he
think
don't. I
something.
think the person just wrote thanks or
Just say
something. I
thanks.
can't remember.
Oh,
And
yeah,
that's
I
what I
think I
always
saw
say.
the
Yes,
screenshot.
yes. There's a difference between when you say thanks and when you say thank you, especially when you're dealing with external customers. When you're dealing with your external customers, always say thank you, even in writing. Even when you're sending a text message, even if it's just a WhatsApp message, please always say thank you. It is very, very important. Those two words are very powerful words.
Okay, thank you. So, I think to close out on this, I want to ask. So, when you say courtesy language, is there something called courtesy behavior, or it
Yes.
doesn't?
Just like you have courtesy language. When we say courtesy behavior, simple English, that's good manners. That's basically
Oh,
what it means. Yes,
oh,
when you have, and so I always say that courtesy behavior in customer service is learning how not to turn your current customers into your ex customers, because we also have ex customers. Yes,
yes.
you don't only have ex-husbands or ex-wife or ex whatever we want to call it, or ex-policeman or an ex-soldier. We also have ex customers. So this promise used to be my customer, but right now she has become my ex-customer. And sometimes, or will I use the word oftentimes, usually it is because we have not gone past just having only the great service alone. Yes, we have the great service, we have very fast service, we do this, we do that, we use all the state of the art when it comes to technology. We use all the state of the art technology. That's part of our great service. We do the something as simple as constant language, something as simple as understanding that emotional intelligence also works when you want to give exceptional customer service, when you want your customer to have great experience. Works a lot. Great service is not enough. And now that we're in the we're in the social media era, one review, one review, one bad review can actually bring down an organization. That's the truth. And I have found out that most organizations, when you have a customer that gives you feedback, sometimes our customers will not always give us great feedbacks. In fact, I always teach, when you have a customer that gives you a feedback that is not too good, you know what, promise? Hold that customer dearly. I repeat, when you have a customer that gives you, I mean, you're doing greatly when it comes to great service, but you have a particular customer who comes and gives you one negative feedback, do not see that customer like an enemy. No. Why? Because usually, I'm going to use our environment as an example. You know, in the Western world, people are very expressive. They just go on social media, blah, 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 the type, and then they send it to you. But, you know, for in our own environment, when you have someone who is expressive and gives you feedback, and that feedback turns to be a negative feedback, please hold that person dearly. Because usually what happens is that when one person has a negative experience with you, rather than telling you, they would go out and tell every other person, oh, this place, no, you don't go there again. This place, no, you don't go there again. I mean, I recently had a very bad review with one of the big restaurants in Lagos, really big restaurant in Lagos, and I suffered food poisoning from that restaurant. And so I had to tell them, first of all, I wrote to them, I sent them an email. And when I sent them an email, you know what? They responded to that email, asked for my number, and requested to speak with me immediately. That is an organization that wants to move forward. I mean, I had all my receipts. I told them when I went to the time I got the mail, it was done just for myself anymore, for my family. I was the only one who had the mail. Every other person's mail was in the freezer because they had, I mean, they had something. I was the only one who had that meal in my house, and that was the only meal I ate throughout that day. And you know, that feedback meant a lot to them. Maybe if I was a Gen Z, I'd have just gone on X or IG and typed at blah 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 blah. Your food gave me blah 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 blah. You see what happens? That's already, I mean, it can, just that review alone can actually bring you down. So when you have a customer who gives you a feedback and a negative feedback, don't see that customer as an enemy. Hold that customer dearly, because you having great service alone. I mean, I had great service on that day. When I went to the restaurant, I was giving very great service. It was very courteous and everything. But at the end of the day, you see what happened. So great service alone, everything matters. Quality control, courtesy language, everything matters when it comes to delivering exceptional customer service.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, just before we close out, if you have questions that you would like to share the speaker, with our speaker, Ify, please feel free to drop them on the comment section and we will take them immediately. I trust that you're enjoying the session. Those that have joined and left, I'm sure that you were able to pick something, and you are still able to pick something from this session. So I just have two final questions before we close out in just in less than 5 minutes. We get emails, if we are going to be honest. Hello, dear Ify, I hope this email finds you well. Dear Ify, dear Ify, trust you are doing good. We don't care whether the person is doing good or not. You just, let me just send it. Because I don't want to say, dear Ify, can I get the balance payment of this? So I have to tell you, I trust you are well. So this is like a word that gets thrown around a lot, and sometimes we
Hmm.
don't even mean. I'm I'm standing I'm standing solidly on this table. Some days I mean it. I mean when I'm standing, I mean it a lot. But some days you're just like, we trust you are well. Thank you. Kind regards. And we are out of there. So what is one word that gets thrown around too much in client service, but does not mean anything without action?
Hmm.
What would you say is a word that gets thrown around a lot
Okay, so
without you
if I have
taking
to use,
action? Okay, sorry. Please go ahead.
using the example that you use, I always say that for you to also be a great customer service professional, you must also be someone who knows how to write properly. When not writing as in the cursive way or the manuscript way of writing, I'm talking about professional writing, business writing. So you get to see a lot of time people say, right, oh dear, if he short this email finds you well. And in my mind, I'm asking, okay, if it doesn't find me well, what exactly would you do? you know and I know that it's because a lot of people also want to practice courtesy, so they just don't want to just go straight into why they're writing to you. But truthfully, in customer service, once you already write dear Ify, once you write dear Mrs. Emeka Onu, once you write dear Promise, once you write dear Mrs. Tijani, once you write dear Esther, it's already a way of greeting. The dear alone in professional writing is accepted as a way of greeting. But then I always, encourage, why don't you just play around with your writers? All the uh, I trust this email finds you well, tip of the day to you, and all of those things. They become a cake, they're obsolete, they're outdated. There's so many things you can actually start with. Trust your day has been productive. Trust you had an eventful weekend. We all came back from we were very busy over the weekend. We had an African wedding to attend. So we're all very busy over the weekend. Trust you had an event. Trust you had an eventful weekend. Like, I mean, those are creative way of it's professional writing, but at the end of the day, don't forget I already mentioned that when it comes to customer service, emotional intelligence is also part of it. Why do you think that a lot of companies, yes, they're doing great services, they're offering great services, but at the end of the day, they like to give discounts, they like to give you do promotions, so many things. Look at what happened. I will never forget one of the soft drink brands, one of the brands they had, one of the adverts they had many years ago. Share a blah with Ify, share this with Promise. They, that was something outstanding, something really, really outstanding. And so, as a professional, as an individual, you must learn to also make something, because humans, we work with emotions. There should be something about your service that is different from the other person. Just like when I tell people, when people ask me, okay, what do you do? Or I tell them, oh, I teach. Oh, you teach? Oh, yes, I do. And then maybe they come into my class and they're like, oh, I can see that the way you actually teach, the way you facilitate, the way you train, the way you coach is different from the regular coaching session I have been. It is different from the regular training session I have been. There should be something about you that stands out from the next person. What are the things that you like to see people do? I always say that the golden rule says, do unto others what you want others to do unto you. But now the platinum rule has superseded the golden rule. The platinum rule says, treat others the way they like to be treated. Did you get that? Treat others the way they like to be treated. And how do our customers, how do our clients like to be treated? They obviously like to be treated as kings. I hope I've answered that question.
Yes. We have a question here from Uche Belaulu. It says, does it mean you have to swallow everything your customer says to you? Or says or does, yes. Does it mean you have to swallow everything your customer says or does? If that's to you.
Okay, yes, there's some times you may not agree with your customer. I mean, there are some of your company policies or your organizational policies that may not agree with what your customer says. If you have to disagree with the customer, then your courtesy language will come in. So you can't actually tell the customer, oh, madam, that thing we just talked now, na lie. Or you're telling your customer, even though you know that the customer has actually told a lie. You know, there are many ways of saying this. I'm afraid I think there may be more to that information. You know, you haven't actually told the customer that you're telling the customer that the customer, you don't agree with what the customer has said, but at the same time, you haven't just told the customer that, what you have just said, it's a lie. No, you cannot say that. I always like to use this example. I Someone has shared this example with me in class where while she was trying to kind of like, offer services to the customer got very livid and gave her a slap. What do you think? Promise. Is she meant to retaliate?
If you don't put me on the spot. My job is at stake.
Is she meant to
It's
retaliate?
not.
Is she
It's
meant to
not.
retaliate?
I
Exactly.
because
So
I mean
I
she's also
don't,
not supposed to
yeah,
block the customer outside and be like, I'll wait for you at the junction.
exactly. That's what we're saying. Yes. I mean, the customer has actually assaulted her. The
Yeah,
customer has assaulted her. And like we all know, two wrongs doesn't make a right. Now, the
definitely.
onus lies on the company, organization, I mean, the human capital management for them to take up that assault, whatever must have happened. They are the ones who should actually take it up. They know how best to deal with this kind of issue. So I think that answers Uchebela Onu's question.
Hi, Uchebella. I don't know if that answers your question. If it doesn't, please feel free to to send us another message. Just drop a message on the chat box. So I think, I don't know if we have entrepreneurs here. We've, I think we've really been focusing on, organizations and all that. So I'd like to ask, as an entrepreneur, that, with my own business I get to decide what I want to do with the customers. I'm saying this because I sometimes I hear from where I live, like, a compound away or somewhere else, I get some conversations. I got to find out one day, I worked close and I got to find out that it was this person that ran an online business, and I would hear shouts about, "You're not my only customer, oh, the way you're this thing, let me tell you," all of that. And I think sometimes I feel like we've really been treating conversations about, client people that, are in organizations. How about those that are in control of, what there's no disciplinary action that the organization would give to you. So are you supposed to, at that point, what do you do, knowing that you can actually hit that client back?
Hmm.
You
You know
can
what?
hit the client.
Promise? The moment we start realizing that the customer who pays you 10,000 naira today may be your next connection to your 10 million naira deal tomorrow, the better for all of us. So a customer may not be able to pay you 10 million naira today, but tomorrow the customer finds himself in a position where he can do a 10 million naira deal with you. And the customer would remember that No. When I did business with this particular entrepreneur, it was just, even though it was just, see, the Holy Book doesn't lie. The Holy Book said many years ago that he who is faithful in what is least is faithful in what is big. The way you treat me when I do a 10,000 naira deal with you is the same way you will treat me when I bring a 10 million naira deal with you. So why would I want to do business with you? And the moment entrepreneurs also realize that it is these same customers, I said it earlier on, it is these same customers that make you go on vacation. They are the ones who pay the bills. It is these same customers who make you have a living. You are not doing the customer a favor. No, you are not. Rather, the customer is doing you a favor, a very big favor. I came across something online, I think about 2 weeks ago, where somebody was trying to share his or her experience, and it's resonated a lot with me. She went to, I think she went to make a purchase somewhere, and in front of your store, you have written that opening time is 9 a.m. That's what you wrote there. Opening time is 9 a.m. And when she got there at 9 a.m., she saw that the store was open but was not open to customers because we actually having the morning devotion. No one is asking you not to be religious. But when it comes to professionalism, then you must be professional. You are the one who said that your company opens, your store opens at 9 a.m. And so you expect that the customer would wait for you. I'm sorry, no. What happens to resuming 30 minutes earlier than 9 a.m. and then you do your morning devotion? There's nobody's asking you not to be religious. But the most important thing is exceptional customer service. And finally, like I always say, exceptional customer service, promise, is not what you say. Exceptional customer service is not what your internal guidelines say. Because usually when you go into an organization, you get to see their vision and the mission statement to be the best, blah, 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 to be the best in sub-Saharan Africa. That is not what exceptional customer service is. Exceptional customer service is what your customers say it is.
Thank you for the session. I thank you very much. If you please name your price, and I'll send the invoice to you via. Thank you. We
Thank you
truly
so much,
appreciate
Promise, for
it.
having
Thank
me.
you for your
Thank you.
time, and we've come to the end of this session. Thank you to everyone that joined. If
Thank
you
you.
were not able to join the session, you are going to get to um, watch this video later. You can share with other client relationship professionals. Thank you, Ify. And this is the point where we say goodbye to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye.